Come on, please. Yes! 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 Yes!
Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is episode number 43 of the 9 Dart Podcast, your one-stop shop for talking tungsten. It's Lorenzo and Josh reviewing the World Darts Championship. And something I have to mention off the top, and I forgot to put it as the first slide like I planned to, Josh, but we are available wherever you get your podcasts in an audio-only format the day after we put it up on YouTube, so you can check it. But not really threatening that top end of town as often.
Pretty much, yeah. That's a pretty fair argument. So to beat someone of that caliber is pretty impressive. It's so good, and you love seeing the crowd getting behind him, and it's just so good to watch. So good.
And the great thing about Paul Lehman, there's quite a few players that perhaps need to learn from this, Josh. He's never one who's ever really complained about anything. He's just congratulated the guy on being the better player in the event of a loss. He's always been someone who's always been quite positive about life and about darts. And I think that's what adds, and why he's been able to do this for so long. It's because at no point has he ever been sort of fed up. He likes playing darts. He likes watching it as well, I'd imagine. So
of course,
it was just absolutely fantastic to see him win a game. And you mentioned before the World Championship how you were looking forward to David Munuya. I don't think we really quite expected what happened in that match. Everything happened in that match, and he made history by being the African qualifier who got over the line there. just the miscount on the 125, the taking out of the 135. The Ali Pali Wasp made like 500 million appearances at this year's World Championship. It was incredible. He was threatening a 9-darter at one point. He went back-to-back 180s at the start of a leg.
Could you imagine if he did that?
Just couldn't hit a double to save his life. And then the big thing off the back of it was the fact that Africa is going to get a second World Championship qualifier next year. Is just
That's so good.
It was just absolutely fantastic. And the story of him coming over here, and it didn't look like he was gonna get over there. And then the Kenyan president was telling him to bring the trophy home, even though he was like the biggest outsider in the field. It was a simply extraordinary moment when he in that entire match, because it all happened in that match against Mike Tedeka. That will be remembered for a long, long time. As one of the first things when you think about this 2026 tournament, you'll think of David Munuya's win against Mike Tedeka.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Tedeka himself, he's now live order I just checked before, he's number 19 in the world. So to play someone of, his caliber again is just mind-boggling, and it was just so good to see. It was a tight tussle as well, 3-2 in the end. It was a scrappy game. Both players averaged just above 80, but just the way he went about it was just absolutely remarkable. And I reckon he's probably, well, as you said, there's so many different storylines, but he has to be one of the top ones. There's no doubt about that. And just the way he went about his business, making obviously history, first Kenya player to compete and obviously to win as well. Just insane. So that was such a really feel-good storyline, you got to say. Absolutely.
You hope we get a few goes at the Super Series, hopefully in the next months or so.
Absolutely.
Peter Wachuri, he was in the crowds cheering on his countrymen. You hope Modus would give him a call up at some point. Maybe we can have a Peter Wachuri, David Munuya, Kenyan International Pairs Week. Can you imagine that?
That would be so cool. Well, we're still waiting for Australia to feature on that. Hopefully, obviously now since Simon didn't go to Q school, he's not going to get his tour card. Hopefully himself and Mason can do the third edition of the International Pairs, which I think is in June, I'm pretty sure, in the schedule, roughly around there.
We get that lined up and we get the green and gold out there at Modus. There were a lot of great students in this world, great walk-ons throughout this year's World Darts Championship as well. Munuya was one of them. Sakai was just someone who was bouncing up, giving so much joy and energy to the pre-Christmas period. It was extraordinary. Obviously, Stephen, we know it's Stephen who does with a walk-on, but there was some great walk-ons at this year's World Championship. A lot from the international qualifiers, which is great. We want this great showing of character and of music taste around the world. And how about Justin Hood? And we might get him a little more in depth.
Let's do it.
Your man Josh Rock. He could do nothing. He couldn't do anything. No. Justin Hood took out his first 11 darts a double, and there was like 1 from 5 on match darts. He was so close. It was like watching, in baseball terms, it would be like watching someone go like in 26 outs into a perfect game, and it blows on the 27th batter. It was like, we were nearly there. We thought we were going to go all the way. Not quite the perfect game, the perfect doubling. But he just emerged out of nowhere. And this was someone whose best run on a pro tour was like 1 quarter final. And who had probably wouldn't have qualified under the old system, would have had to go to the tour card holder qualifier, but with the extra space has got through in the order merit fairly comfortably, but hadn't shown much of anything. Yes. And I just hope we see more of Justin Hood. He's just a fantastic character, and he's a man, Josh, who knows what he wants. He wants to own a Chinese restaurant. That's what he wants. From his darts, he's got a clear vision of what he wants to do with his darting prize money, and we're all on board with that dream, I think.
Well, I think after the amount of prize money he's accumulated, I think he's going to get that Chinese restaurant, up 36 places on the order of merit to 50 now. So that, cements him in that top 50, as he said, top 64 really for doing brackets of 32 to 64. Yeah. He was incredible. Played Nick Kenny, Noppert, Meikle, Brock, and then obviously
Pelto Anderson.
Anderson as well.
The game against Danny Noppert, I think the game against Danny Noppert was the best match of the tournament. With Evans and Wade a close second in there, and Van Veen, Anderson, and Anderson Automana also throwing in some very memorable matches. But I think the Noppert Hood match with some of the big checkouts and the drama in there, and they both missed a match dart at least. Hood missed a separate before getting over the line. That was a simply incredible game. Simply incredible final set. And Justin Hood now, he was in the first year of his tour card. But with all the money he's banked and the fact that this next year is still a free hit, he'll stay in the world's top 64 surely.
Yeah, I think
Over
so.
I expect to see plenty more, and I just hope to see him more going on. He's got a very James Wade style action, albeit a bit shorter than James Wade. Great to see Justin Hood do so well. Now, we didn't get any 9-darters at this year's World Championship, which was a bit of a surprise. We were expecting quite a few,
Yeah.
but they made up for it with all the fishies.
Yes, as the way model
17,
says.
170 checkouts. It was extraordinary. They came left, right, and centre. Van Veen had 3, Espinal and Littler had a couple more. And at any moment, they were falling in. Van Veen and Anderson had the 2 in the space of 3 legs on the same set.
That was incredible. God.
They couldn't miss the 60-60 bull if they tried.
No.
Some of these plays. It was a simply fantastic a display of fishing.
Yeah, well, as soon as you heard Wayne Mardle's commentary, you just knew it was going to go in. You just knew. And yeah, also the spread of people as well that had it was really, really cool. And there was most of it was actually in really crucial times in the game as well. The Van Veen one in particular, and those 3 legs where there was 2 thrown between, well, 1 between each opponent, obviously. But yeah, really, really cool stuff. It just, the big 170 obviously adds a really cool element to the game because, it's the highest checkout. It's like, well, your opponent's, on tops, whatever, and he's fighting for his life to get back into the leg or the set, and then just bang, it can change the game so quickly. So very, very cool.
We're going to have to do this next year for Paddy Power's even bigger 180 campaign, which raised over £1 million for Prostate Cancer UK. They had it for 180s and 9-darters. They're going to have to throw in a 170s thing. Every 170 will throw in an extra £10,000 or whatever they want to go with. Because they should have done it this year instead of the 9-darter, and they would have had plenty more.
Plenty more money.
But it's just the 170 galore was just fun. And the here fishy is now going to just be a thing we do every time someone is going for the bull on a 170. That's just going to become an ingrained part of darts. Thank you very much, Wayne Mardle, for your service. But Josh, as good as this tournament was, we kind of knew all the way through who was probably going to win it. I think the best player who had a chance to beat Luke Littler at this tournament was David Davis, and he walked off after the 4th leg of the first set because he thought he'd lost, even though he was actually throwing for it. That's what Luke Littler does to people. He completely bamboozles people. It was just a dominant performance. He lapped the field, basically. He was very comfortable in front. Van Veen missed, was it 1 or 2 darts at 8-8? Oh no, 1 dart because of the back of a 1-2-7 to lead 2-0 in the sets, and maybe that changes things. But after that, it was all. And Van Veen wasn't playing poorly. He averaged just under 100.
No, he was good.
Littler was putting in a performance worthy of a World Championship final, and this is someone who's already for mine in the top 5 greatest darts players of all time. He's got a talent like almost only the Van Goghens and the Bristows at such a young age. Taylor didn't come into professional darts towards the back end of his 20s. And if there's any worry that you think, in 5 years he'll give up and he'll go away around the time Van Gogh, and he's already going after Phil Taylor's 16. And what I love about Luke Littler, I think, is he loves the sport and he understands a bit like me. He loves that history side of it. You don't need to.
You love the history.
That Gary Anderson was the last guy to go back to back. He just knows that. So you didn't need to remind him of the history elements of it, and he just wants to keep ticking off these things. He's got a World Masters, which he's only played in once, that he needs to tick off next at the back end of this month. A very dominant display, and there's no one better at the moment. And he smashed through that £2 million mark off the back of winning the Worlds as well.
Oh, easy. So what is he on now? 2.7. Wow. That's remarkable. Yeah, so
and money going up this year, Josh. So if he continues to win things, I think we'll grow even further.
I'll ask you a quick question. Do you think he will beat the Power 16 titles?
I'm not sure if he can. I don't know. I
know it's a very on the spot question.
It's very weird, given he's only played in 3 World Championships. I think he is a very good chance to get past. So second place is only 5, which is how far Taylor's ahead of everybody. Eric Bristow and Raymond. I think he's got a great opportunity to get to 6, and I think if he can enter his career in the double digits, that would be a very worthy of where of the perhaps second greatest. Whether he can get to the 16, with these tournaments are harder to win, and I'm not saying I'm not
Oh, of
discounting
course.
anything Taylor won. You play to the rules you're given. I'm going to talk about that in Q School later, about playing to the rules you're given and not blaming players for rules. And Taylor was the best player in the world for basically 20, 30 years. But these tournaments are harder to win now because they're longer and they're over a greater field. And I feel like I read somewhere someone said that the guy's probably going to knock over Luke Littler and end this World Championship winning streak. He's probably not even on the Pro Tour. It's probably some 13-year-old in an academy who's currently averaging like 85, which is really good for a 13-year-old. But by the time they get to like their late teens, early 20s, they're going to be averaging 100 on a regular basis. And maybe then that'll be the person who knocks off Littler. 16 might be a bit difficult to get, but I think 6 passing Van Barneveld and Bristow, and even 10 is something that should be those first couple of marks he can pass. And I think those two are definitely in play.
Well, you were mentioning young person that might take him over. Well, you reckon there's a guy called Mitchell Laurie who might burst onto the scene in a couple of years, who might go into that PDC system after he goes to Lakeside again?
He might be the perfect example of someone who might be able to knock him over at some point.
But let's not put any pressure on him. Let's just, ensure he just plays his darts and enjoys himself, the Scotsman. We just want to do that first.
Yes, absolutely. Sure.
But he had a fantastic campaign, Littler.
Yeah.
It was just unbeatable, really. The closest to what was
it was the Rob Cross game, I think.
Rob Cross game.
That was the only other one, other maybe Dave Davis.
4-2.
He wasn't quite at 100%. And Cross played quite well in that match, to be fair. But
he did.
Yeah, Littler. He just has ability in the long format games. He's just so hard, and even in the short format games, like he's the best player in the world, and he probably has been since his last World Championship, even though he wasn't really. He didn't obviously have the ranking of world number one. He's probably been the second best player, at least in the top two, for about like a year and a half. Ever since he won his first Premier League night, which was that must be like nearly 20 months ago now. That he's probably been in that top two with Humphreys. But but the 16 is going to be so difficult because of we just see all these like Van Veens. I'm just confident he's going to win. Is going to get his hands on the Silverdale Trophy someday. You feel like
absolutely
Humphreys will win another couple. Michael Van Gerwen will want to win another one. Stephen Bunting's going to play for another 10 years. Josh Rock is showing all those attributes at the moment. So it's even if those guys don't win a world championship, they might, be knock him out at
push hard for one
semi-final sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, and it's not easy. Phil won 16, but he lost in 5 finals, 3 which went to the last set. He's the best player in the sport's history. Yet, could he have been a little bit better in certain places? Yeah, he probably could have.
There you go.
So,
absolutely.
So the 16s might be a bit out there.
Bit of a stretch, you think?
1/8 of the way there. But it is quite remarkable already talking about that about someone who's just won back-to-back world titles. Who knows? He may never win another one. We don't know, Josh.
He's only 18, remember? He's got a long future ahead of him if he wants it, which I think he does for sure. But
yeah, I think he's
incredible story.
That Phil Taylor 16. I think he'll be around for at least another, couple of decades at least.
Yeah. Well, I'll say I should mention you did pick him for the win, so congrats for that. Well done.
It was the odds-on favorite, but I feel like a lot of people don't want to pick him because it's like, oh, of course you're picking the best. It's like, but have you seen him play? He's the best player.
That was also
he might be the most dominant
my approach going to it as well.
Right now.
Yeah, that was my approach going to it. In the back of my mind, when I do my selections, I'm like, yeah, he's probably going to win. But I'm like, it'd be nice to see Josh Rock get the win, especially his form over the last 3 months.
I think will generally win the tournament, and I thought he would win the tournament.
Yeah, I know.
You wouldn't put money at odds on, but yeah. Does people keep saying? I want to ask you this, and maybe this should have been a great debate sort of thing. Is this good for the sport that he's winning almost everything, and if it's not him, it's either Humphreys or Van Veen? We've seen these things.
Great question.
Usually happens in the mid 2000s. It was all Taylor, Parton, and Barneveld picking up titles. Like, we've gone through these sort of things before, and I feel like you do really need someone to be sort of that guy up the top, which you either root for to keep winning, or you want someone to knock down. And if it's just a rotating door, it might be a bit hard to work out like who's the real top guy, who are we really all hunting here, who's the one guy who can all say we want to knock him off. So I think him being a distance in front might be. And look, there's a certain level of the neutral fan just wanting a competitive match, and when they get what it's still a fantastic, just like that final was one of the best World Championship final performances ever, and I was like, oh, this is boring. It's like this is like you don't see guys averaging like 107 in a world final basically ever. It's happened like
No.
4 or 5 times, and they're all Taylor Van Goen and Rob Cross the year he won it. Because he
Yeah.
couldn't miss double 18 that year. It was just a sensational performance, and
Mm.
and he's a deserving back-to-back world champion. He's in that. He's with Taylor, Lewis, Anderson, Bristow. When you're going further back,
In that company,
the
yeah.
split, guys who won it in consecutive years, and now he's going for 3 in a row. And you feel like it's going to be hard to see anyone stopping him in the next
That's
few
right.
years.
Well, to answer your question, you said, is it good for the sport? Well, he came into the PDC system when he was 16, right? Obviously had that loss to Humphreys, and then
If he
since
hit that
then
double two, he
he's
would have already
won.
won
Oh,
3
I
more
know,
titles
I
by
know.
now.
I saw that vision in my head when I was watching it. Absolutely. But yeah, the question is, has it done good for the game or not? I think in terms of viewership, big tick. Absolutely. Him winning because everyone's having eyeballs on, wow, this 16, 17 or 18-year-old guy continues to win everything. So is it just the World Masters now that he hasn't ticked
doesn't have
off?
the World Masters. He doesn't have the European Championship, and if you wish to count it, he doesn't have. Well, he doesn't have the World Cup. Whether you want to count that as a major,
But
he doesn't
yeah,
have that.
that's an argument for itself. Yeah, so I guess we'll include it for the sake of this conversation. He's got three left, and he's got tons of time to do it. But is it good? That's the question. From an audience point of view, I think it's split. I think half are going. We're watching a guy who is absolutely transcended the sport into something that's magical, right? And we're seeing such good quality. There was only one game where he averaged below 100, which was the game against David Davies, where he averaged 97.15 and a 3-0 victory. But then there's the other side of the equation that's going, this is really cool and all, but it'd be nice to see someone else win it instead of, the same matchups and the same person winning most of these tournaments. So I'm sort of on the fence about it, to be honest. I'm saying, wow, this is a guy that we've never seen before at 16 who's now growing to an absolute magician, and now also on the other side of the coin seeing the same guy winning all the time. So I'm sort of on the fence. What about you?
No, I'm definitely more towards this is good for the sport overall because I feel like
Yeah,
you
fair.
need guys up there right at the top to know who to either root for or against, who you know who's your definitely best player and your most marketable player, and he has all of those calibers. He's got much better with media over the last couple of years as well as you probably would have expected him to do so. So I think it's all good. And anything that gets more eyeballs on the sport, the better. And Luke Littler does that in spades and spades at the moment.
Absolutely.
So a deserving world champion, and just a dominant display all the way through that tournament. It's never really been challenged outside of one set against David Davis and perhaps the Rob Cross match maybe as well. But yeah, but we did have, should we know, we did have a few positive surprises. We talk about Justin Hood and his great performance. Christoph Ratajski got to a quarterfinal. Ryan Searle as well got himself to a semi-final as well.
He was good heavy metal.
Himself in the world's top 10, I believe. And then you also had guys like James Hurrell, who knocked off Stephen Bunting, and Arno Merck as well, who won the first match of the World Championship.
That's
and
true.
Also made some very strong performances along the way. So while Littler is that dominant story, you can throw in Gary Anderson making a semi-final as well. We had plenty of other good stories along the way.
Yeah, we sure did. Well, to fact check you about Searle, yes, he is. He's number 8 in the world, jumped 12 spots as a result of his campaign. So that's very good. We'll talk on mouse post. You brought him up. Yeah, heavy metal was great. He was very, very good. He had a great tournament. He looked very good at times, especially when he needed to be for crucial points in matches. So we've talked about Justin Hood and his 11 on the doubles, which I don't think that's a record. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a record.
Yeah, that's as long as anyone's gone into a match. Certainly,
yeah.
No one's got 11 straight in a televised match, as far as anyone can, as far as anyone can find.
Yeah, ridiculous. And then obviously Ratajski, yeah, he was very good as well. He beat Toilo, Joyce, Wesley Plaisir, who was also pretty good making it to the third round. Woodhouse, who was decent as well. And then he just kept going up until his defeat. So, yeah, he was surprising as well, got to say.
Yeah, plenty of good stories along the way. I was happy to see Ratajski do it. And yeah, the Justin Hood story was something really fun along the way. So those two were great. Now I have some questions for you, Josh. I want to know about the three men on the screen now: Dimitri Vandenberg, Raymond van Barneveld, and Peter Wright. Where do you reckon their careers are sitting at? Peter Wright and Van Barneveld, very much veterans of the sport and among the greatest to ever play it at their best. But they looked almost relieved to lose and get off that stage at the World Championship.
Yeah.
And Dimitri Vandenberg, who was the outsider in his match against Darren Beveridge, didn't really look too comfortable either. I think that these three are going to continue to struggle. It's hard to see them turning it around in the next year. But what are your thoughts? And you can have, you might think, well, one might have a better chance than the others. What are our thoughts on where Vandenberg, Van Barneveld, and Wright's careers are heading?
Interesting. I guess we'll go from left to right for Vandenberg first. Do you think he's lost a bit of motivation? I don't know. I just feel like he doesn't have the same bounce that he has had in the past. I don't know. It's just something that's just off about him. He only averaged 80 in his 3-0, I guess somewhat embarrassing loss in the end to Darren Beveridge, who no one really knew at the time as well. Yeah.
He was not the most well-known player. Ice cold, but just on the numbers that Vandenberg was going to have to be the guy to win it. He's defending the UK Open prize money, Josh. £110,000 set to come off his order of merit, and his tool card could genuinely be in trouble if he doesn't have a good runs. He made the World Match Play a couple of years ago, hit a 9-darter on the Winter Garden stage, and it's just the form is just not there for Vandenberg at the moment. So I do genuinely worry for his cards.
He's 25 in the world at the moment in the order of merit.
Yes, which sounds like he's far ahead, but there are a lot of guys below him that
are really pushing up. Exactly right.
And with the additional prize money set to come on this year, I mean, just getting to the World Match Play or getting to the World Grand Prix could really benefit you.
Van Barneveld, struggle for him.
I don't see much a fight left in the tank for the 5-time world champion. Peter Wright is an interesting one because I feel like maybe with the right things going his way, he can still be fractionally competitive. MVG was all about him retiring at one press conference, which was
bit harsh.
Maybe focus on your own game, Van Gogh. And you've been playing amazingly recently, and you're not even the Dutch #1 at the moment anymore because Van Veen's gone past you. But he's got a big year as well, Van Gogh. And but
for sure.
For Barney and Wright, there could be genuinely good benefits of announcing ahead of time that this could be last year, and so that we get to enjoy them one last time, because we don't want to see, Peter Wright, someone who fought his way up. He's had plenty of heartbreaking defeats, but he's a 2-time world champion, a world match play champion, and one of the most UK Open champion, one of the most influential players in darts. We want to remember that Peter Wright, and he's going to drop less of the snakebite character and just be the quiet, reserved Peter Wright he is away from the Oki. So that there could be that, because if they do that, Barney and Wright, and say, right, we're going to do one last year, one last world championship, and that's it, then we probably wouldn't be thinking so much about perhaps the way they're performing, and just saying, well, we're going to enjoy watching them play darts one last time. That's
a good point.
That might be something, because the other thing we don't want to see is them just fall off the tour card and quietly go away. And there'll be plenty of exhibitions and other opportunities for them outside of darts to bring in things if they wanted to. But it's hard to see these three players getting back up. Vandenberg at least has the age, and he's the youngest of the three by a long, long way. So he's got that time if he wants to bounce it back. But at the moment, it's hard to see where it's where even some positives are at the moment.
That's true. Yeah, well, I think for Barney, he's been mentioning a lot that, he's getting to the later part of career, but he hasn't ever said he's going to retire at a certain point. And do you think he should, as in not obviously retire, but I'm just saying, do you think it might be hinting that he might retire so he can actually enjoy his later part of his career? I don't know. I'm
not sure what he's going to do. I'm not sure what he wants to do. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I generally don't know what these three would do, especially Barney and Wright, whether they would hand back their tour cards, whether they would let themselves fall out the world's top 64, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, then for Peter Wright, we obviously love seeing his energy that he brings, and I guess he's sort of gone away from that here and there. So I don't know. Obviously, we want these guys to do fantastic. So yeah, I don't know. Well, we'll keep watching eagerly, no doubt. But for now, it's it's a few question marks. That's my 2 cents at least.
Yeah, there certainly is. Right, now we're going to get into some of the bad
The
stuff.
juicy stuff.
There was some real juicy stuff, and
Oh boy.
as anyone who has followed some of the other things we've done, is it the next slide I've done this? Yes, we're bringing back
Volcano.
on a limited basis throughout the year. It won't be an every week thing, but I'm going to have a few volcanos, get a few rants during during the Nine Dart podcast, and I have quite a few volcanoes to give out this week, Josh. Starting with Cameron Menzies imploding on the World Championship stage against Charlie Manby, who, by the way, was another positive surprise. Really good and
Absolutely
hard as well.
Fantastic.
So fascinating to see how he does on the tour over the next year. But he lost his mind, Cameron Menzies. He forgot where he was. He was looking at Manby's score and not his own, which meant he left the double 3, and then he came inside of that, and then he walked ahead of the Oki, so he was left to 1-1-1, and he bust that, and then Manby hit double 1, and then I love Dan Dorset's commentary. Cameron
it's all too much.
Punching the living daylights out of the water table.
Yeah.
And that went all over the social media. He put his hand in the pyrotechnics.
What the hell was he thinking? Had blood on his hand and everything.
He was bleeding, and it was his throwing hand as well. So if I don't know what they're going to do from a suspension point of view, he's sort of half suspended himself with damaging the hand he has to throw with. If it's the non-throwing hand, it might have been a little bit better. But the PDPA, who are sort of like the union, I guess, or the professional darts players association, they might be the most useless organization in all of sport, Josh. They are.
That's a good point.
They haven't represented their players very well, given most of them didn't like the Euro Tour change at the start of last year, and they still tick that off. The first thing you get by being a tour card holder is like a check to join their organization, which is also
right.
some of the PDC's prize money format, but we've talked about that a billion times already.
Yeah.
I know that he's never been one who's been in 100% good headspace, so that's a PA side of thing. But if I'm the PDC, if I'm the DRA, I do not want to see Cameron Menzies at the World Masters qualifier, even if he's not actually suspended. I think he needs to take quite an indefinite break. And if you or I, Josh, you do a bit of work, I do a lot of volunteering stuff. If any of us did that sort of thing, the mental health side of things wouldn't really come in. People would still say, no, you can't do that at the workplace, off you go. So I don't expect the DRA, because they're, again, a bit of a useless organization. I'm going to have a rant about them, about Dom Taylor in a moment. The DRA as well, they barely put out anything. So if anything, I would expect a suspended ban, which means you get a 12-month grace period where if you do anything wrong, then the suspension kicks in.
Then it kicks in.
We haven't seen a million examples of Cameron Menzies losing his mind. And he's just got all that talent there, and he just keeps wasting it.
He keeps wasting the talent over and over again. Yeah.
We could go on about Corey Cadby, the Aussie, who should have been our Luke Littler, and then never did anything, couldn't get over on the visa because of his own problems. It's just so frustrating, and I don't expect it, but I don't think Menzies should be treated lightly, because you can't just go punching things after losing a darts match.
Yeah, it was all just too much for him in the end, wasn't it? It was just it was embarrassing for casuals as well, who were just trying to get into the sport. I'm like, well, if this is what I'm going to be watching every time I put it on, then I got no interest in seeing a bloke bash a water table and put his hand in
pyrotechnic.
It was just all too much.
Pyrotechnic. When Steve beat Sebastian Bielacecki, he went up 3-2 in the last set, and it's a tie break the last set, so he had to win by 2. And the pyrotechnic started shooting off as if he'd won.
Oh, really?
And Stephen, he sort of like shook his head and did a bit of this, like, no,
oh my God,
I've still got to win another leg. Now he won the next leg, and so it was able to properly have it this time. That was quite amusing. Anyway, that feels like a million years ago when Sebastian beat Bielacecki in a tiebreak. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that. You were talking about pyrotechnics, and that was a funny thing that happened at the World. So everyone. I'm not even sure that many people cotton onto it even at the time, but I certainly did. That was quite funny.
It was plastered on social media, that's for sure. It was everywhere. So
yeah, but the Cameron Menzies thing was absolutely everywhere. I went to an event, sort of an open day at uni, and I was talking to a few people about the course that we do, Josh, and about the Darts podcast that we do, and people were like, "Oh yeah, I saw something about someone punching a table this morning," because it was that morning.
So what happened? I do remember it. very, very well.
It was not great. And I think the DRA need to come down hard, but I don't expect them to do so. That was
Yeah.
Cameron Menzies' statement. I thought the PDC did a good thing as well. Matt Porter's statement, he reached out to Menzies and then put out a statement saying the PDC will let the DRA go through the matter. So I think they do quite well.
They do in that regard at least, but there needs more
I want to
action.
be clear, that's none of this is really a PDC thing almost at all. The duty has to be with the DRA, who puts out the suspensions, and the PDPA with managing their players and actually offering things. Not saying you're going to do it, actually do them.
Yeah.
So that's sort of a separate thing from anything the PDC do. They just put on events and generate revenue and employ officials and get broadcasters involved, that sort of thing. So that was very disappointing. And then we got to super disappointing when Dom Taylor, who beat Oscar Lukasiak, I want to say, in round one.
Yes, he did.
Correct. Correctly.
Yep.
Then, after saying in his press conference all about how he's moved on from the drug ban, he got caught again off the back of the same match, Josh. Off the back of the same match.
The same match.
He got the round test. And it came up positive again.
So he was lying to himself, the media, the fans, and his followers,
and the broadcasters,
That's
and all the journalists
disgraceful
in the media room asking questions.
Exactly, that's disgraceful for me. Like, I've no other way to put it. It's just after all that time, and having
he missed last year's World Championship because of the positive ban, Josh. He missed that one.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's actually talented on the dartboard. That's a thing. So again, is this another case of
he's arguably the best player who doesn't have a card? I know
exactly. Yeah.
Andres Harrison and Steve Beaton and Mitchell Laurie, those kind of guys.
Derek Coulson as well, I reckon.
Yeah, exactly. He can't be that far away from the best player without a card, but he's brought it on himself because he should be a top 64 player.
Yep, exactly.
He is
right.
a top 64 player, but he doesn't play at the World Championships at all because he just keeps getting busted. Now,
there's
Josh, big question.
So much money that is right there for him if he wants it, but it's just I don't know. Yes, your question.
How long should he be suspended for? And as put out this morning by the DRA, how long do you think he will be suspended for?
Have we got any notice?
We have a number. I have a number.
Okay.
It's on the next slide. How big do you think it should be, and how long do you think it is?
Okay.
Two very different questions.
Okay, well, I haven't looked at the number because I didn't see the slide, but I'm going to guess that it is 6 months. I don't know if that's close or not, but I think it should be like 18 months, 24 months. Yeah,
you have absolutely nailed that, Josh.
Really?
6 month ban, 6 months. Yes, correct.
Oh my God.
Very well done.
You've
read the DRA's mind absolutely beautifully in their ability to not come down hard enough. So
I had no idea. Like, I'm being dead set. No idea. I didn't look at the next slide until now.
This morning, this was about 4 or 5 hours before we're recording this. It's nearly noon on Thursday, the 15th of January, 2026.
I had a feeling it wouldn't be long enough. Had a feeling it wouldn't be long enough at all. Yeah,
no, it's not long enough. It's not long
surprised.
Enough.
Not surprised at all. Yeah.
You would hope now is finally the time where things begin to change for Taylor, given he's missed. Well,
it's happened again.
He missed last year's World Championship, or 2 years ago technically. He missed the most recent World Championship second round match, and Johnny got through. Now Johnny would have probably beaten Dom Taylor anyway, but Johnny Clayton, you could argue Johnny Clayton got into the Premier League this year. And I'm not, I think Johnny Clayton should be in the Premier League, by the way. But you could say a big reason why he's in the Premier League instead of someone like maybe Nathan Aspinall or Danny Nofford is because he got so far deep in the tournament because Dom Taylor didn't give him a challenge in the second round because he wasn't there.
That's true. Yeah, that's about what I was expecting. Now, I'll pose the same question to you. What do you think the ban should be from your point of view?
Up towards 24 months, I think. It really should have
been
a very, substantial thing. Even I was expecting maybe 9 or 12, this sort of thing. But no, you
overpromise, under-deliver
with 6 months. So now this is
made a lot of sense.
All right, so it covers PDC. I think most of the WDF, Modus, even like other things. So basically the only thing he can go to is like £100 competition in a pub somewhere. And if he shows up to any of those, he will not make it out alive. If he starts trying to pinch money off those sort of people. So you would think quite a few sponsors would probably not want to have much to do with him at the moment.
See you later. And his endorsements. Yeah,
exactly. But I don't think 6 months is not enough. And again, the DRA and they'll do the same thing with Cam Menzies when it's like a suspended 3-month thing. It's like, it's not enough
No.
And in all the other sports, they seem to be doing these things reasonably. I would argue reasonably well.
Yeah.
Some people would argue that the AFL are too harsh on some suspensions. I disagree, but that's for another podcast probably.
That's for another time.
That's for another time. That's for
49 days AFL season, by the way.
But it is it's frustrating when you see all these very talented dart players and they just bring these issues onto themselves.
So frustrating.
Or they just can't control themselves. Like Ricky Evans also had a bit of a moment in his match against Charlie Manby where he started to, if the game started to go against him, and then he just wasn't interested anymore. He started just throwing at all sorts of random things. Also, now again, this is the thing with this podcast, Josh. Every time I mention one thing, I'm like, oh yeah, I wanted to mention this other thing. I just want to clarify to people because some people might have been confused. In the match between Ricky Evans and James Wade, at one point, Ricky Evans had a dart disallowed because the referee, Charlie Constantine, called it as an underarm throw. And a lot of people go, well, that wasn't really underarm. But the rule is, according to, you go to the DRA rulebook, it's got to be a deliberate and overarm fashion. So what that sort of means is, yes, the Ricky Evans thing was a bit more sidearm than like literally underarm, but because that's not the natural normal way he throws it, that was a correct adjudication not to count that dart, which would have busted his score. Instead, he was left with a 1-2-2 situation, and he won the leg anyway, so it didn't mean anything, Evans, and he won the match. But the dart was disallowed, less for it being underarm because it was more sidearm, but it was deliberately thrown overarm in the fashion you expect from Ricky Evans. And you can tell that by the very brief replay Sky Sports show that was like up there for 2 seconds, and sort of the way the dart went into the board, that it wasn't thrown in the normal Ricky Evans manner. It was too sidearmish. So was it thrown underarm?
Good call.
Probably,
Good call, I think.
But it wasn't thrown in a deliberate and overarm fashion, which is what the rule states. So I think that was correct to not count that dart by the referee.
Yeah, I think Charlie did a good job. Well, it's obviously up to personal discretion, but I think your example there of his natural throw versus what he did, I reckon that's
I think that's the way you
analysis.
kind of have to look at that thing, the way we expect Ricky Evans to throw and the way that dart was thrown. That's sort of the way that thing gets talked about. This is more you than me. I wanted to have a go at people who were upset about people booing in the crowd, because I think you should be allowed to have one guy win. You shouldn't want a guy to take out a 1-5-6 if it's against your favorite player, Josh. Anyway, but there are some lines which you can't cross, and the German fans keep doing it whenever Littler plays.
They do.
He has the gall not to play in their country when they have like more events than anywhere else but England.
Yeah, well, the big thing is the whistling, isn't it? Players, staff, that they've all talked about, and I think there's a little bit in there as well, and bit of billing, a bit of argy-bargy, which is just not what we want to see at all. I don't care if you hate the guy, if you hate the opponent, but you just got to treat them with the utmost respect and best of order, as we like to say. And
I've got no problem with the booing. Got no problem. You don't have to like the guy who's throwing. You don't have to show you like the guy. The whistling is too far, and it was, as I mentioned on our little mini episode we did, it was very similar, the Luke Littler Rob Cross game, to a game Luke Humphries played when he beat Ricardo Pietrezco in the year he won the World Championship. He celebrated at the same section of the Ali Pali audience in that West Hall. The last time we're going to use that West Hall, of course, as we go to the Great Hall next year, or for the next edition, later this year as well. It's very weird, this World Championship, when it's in 2 different years, and now your brain's all over the place. But it was that same section, which tends to be filled with a lot of German fans. The Germans do like to travel for the World Championship. Excuse me. So I think some of this stuff is a bit over the top and a little bit. And so whistling's not good. Anything else I don't have too much of an issue with. You shouldn't want, if you don't want a guy to hit a double, you shouldn't want a guy to hit a double. That's part of sport. We want,
that's part of the game.
We often want one result more than we want the other. But
maybe I was a bit too harsh.
The response to it was very funny, and that's again, I like that sort of character. I like when people express their opinions, and as long as
not bothered,
it clearly doesn't, unless it throws you off. I like the English drinking in Noosa, like that threw them off their series, and they lost 4-1. Littler was concentrated, and he won the World Darts Championship. So that's the difference between those sorts of behaviours between
not
English
bothered.
people.
Apparently, he said
that's a rant for another time as well.
Gosh, you've got a volcano about
Yes,
Cullen
I put this
and
under the
Mensur.
volcano because I didn't really know where else to put it, and I
Go
forgot it
for it.
until this morning.
This is all
But
you.
we didn't even talk about it in the mini episode. The Joe Cullen Mensur Suljvoic match that brought up all sorts of stuff. Joe Cullen called him a cheat. Mensur Suljvoic was like, "What
This
are
is a
you on
fantastic
about?"
photo, by the way.
This is an awesome photo. This was great. I love this. I don't like Joe Cullen. I think he thinks he's like one of the great Premier League players. He's not. He's never has been. He flew to one Masters victory that got him into the Premier League, and then by the way, they got rid of that right when Stephen Bunting won the Premier League, predictably. And then we had to watch Peter Wright go about it for 2 months. Now I know Stephen didn't do that well in last year's Premier League, but he was more competitive than Peter Wright was the last 2 years previously, and I say that as someone who likes Peter Wright. Anyway, Joe Cullen, he's someone who just misses doubles at crucial times all the way through his career. Yes, sometimes they're right on the wire. Sometimes he gets put off by a fly, like he was that match, the World Match Play. But he's someone who I think he thinks he's up that top 16 level, but I've never seen Joe Cullen all the way at that top end, and I was very happy to see Mensur Suljvoic knock him off. He's someone who this is why we don't put you as favorite for matches. This is the thing. Joe Cullen is so focused on what everyone else says about him. He's always like, why am I not the favorite against this guy? Well, you're not playing as well. And then he was the favorite for the Mensur match and he lost. Like, this is why, Joe, because we don't expect you to perform like you did he played very well in the first round. He averaged 99, and then he went back to averaging in the 80s or whatever against a guy he should be beating at this point. If this was Mensur Suljvoic 2018, after winning the Champions League, making the final of the match play, I think he was in the Premier League for a year or two, then yeah, maybe this would be a tricker. But this is a Mensur Suljvoic who's barely holding on to his card these days, sort of
Exactly
towards
right.
the back end. Can you find what ranking Mensur Suljvoic is now?
Yeah, I was just going to do that.
50s.
I was just going to do that whilst you keep going. Go for it.
But look, the only thing Mensur sort of did half wrong was maybe taking a bit too long to celebrate at one point. But these things are all very subjective, and I don't like the DRA rules were all about gamesmanship, which is like spirit of cricket in that sport. Like, what do you mean this? What does this mean? Like, I would rather you just not have that in the rule book at all. So I don't have anything on Mensur. We know how Mensur plays. He's not some new player. He's been around forever. We know. It's also he was. The other thing, do you have the ranking?
Yes, I'll do. 55. He's gone up 5 places as a result.
He's gone up a little bit. So he's they're back into the 50s at the moment. But Mensur is a player, and I thought it was, and heat of the moment things sometimes get the better of you. But I thought it was a little bit disrespectful of Joe Cullen to go move it for 2 reasons. One, now if I was him, I would now be doing everything I can to slow him down, because the thing Joe Cullen needs to do is he needs to be focusing on himself. If you're focusing on what your player is doing and you think your player is taking too long, that's going to train your attention on everything they're doing and not on what you're doing. And that's you should only be
usually a sign you're not doing well.
Yeah. And the other thing is, we know Mensur Suljvoic has had dartitis issues. He throws the way he does specifically because he can't throw quickly. Because those battles that he's had, and he's done very well to get towards the top end of the PDC there about 8 years ago, and he's made a couple of World Cup of Darts finals, and he's won a major event against the real top. He was that top 8 Champions League. He beat Gary Anderson in a memorable Champions League final there in Cardiff back in that was 2017, I want to say. Match play final 18, classic match against Gary there. So I thought Mensur was in the right all the way through. I think Joe Cullen is in the wrong, like he often is, and he still goes on about not being picked for the 2023 Premier League, even though Luke Humphries was probably more worthy of a spot, and he actually had to win major events, something Joe Cullen's never done in either code. So I thought Mensur was in the right on that one, and labeling him a cheater I thought was very, very incorrect and wrong. I thought anything Mensur did in that match was fine. It was a bit of a slog. We don't want everyone playing at a Mensur pace, but that's the thing of darts. There's no shot clock, so you can throw as quickly or slow whatever suits you. And the only thing you should be focusing on is how you win a match. And for Mensur, that's playing at quite a slow but often inconsistent pace. Sometimes he's a bit faster, sometimes he's a bit slower, but that's the way he goes about playing darts.
That is, well, some players like a more quicker pace, some like a more slower pace. Alexis Torlo is a fantastic example of the more slower pace.
Yeah, exactly.
And
it wasn't
on the other side of the spectrum, you got Ricky Evans, who's the faster pace. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Vince Vandervoorts, those sort of things. And it wasn't Stephen Bunt. No, sorry, let me get this right. It wasn't Alexis Torlo's fault that Stephen Bunting lost to him at the Grand Slam of darts because he couldn't handle his pace. That was Bunting's fault. In the same reason that, Cullen's got to make sure. And I mean, there were slow plays in this tournament. Paul Lim was in this World Championship in the second round. Like, surely at some point you have to know how to grab or find someone who plays a bit slower, or even just a good player who plays a bit quicker, to deliberately play at a Mensur Suljvoic pace so you can get used to that sort of thing. But the darts coaching space has always been interesting, as in it's never really existed.
Yeah. No, exactly right. So that was a huge one, but we need to move on to what is one of the.
This episode's taking so long. We're only at the great point now, but let's talk about the lineup. Josh,
let's get it.
2 new debutants.
Yes.
Luke, Van Veen and Van Goen got through automatically. Bunting, Clayton, Price, and Rock. So Van Veen and Rock are the debutants in from who weren't in this year. Oh, last year, I should say. Clayton, Rock, and Van Veen out. Dobie, Cross, and Aspinall. Before I give my opinions, and I already have in other places, what is your take on the 8, Josh, that are in this year's Premier League? Are you happy with it? Would you have maybe flipped one guy after another guy? What is your take on it all?
Well, first and foremost, it was interesting how they did 3 selections in and out. You said that they would do tops around 2, but I guess
I said 2 or 3. They definitely wouldn't do 4, and I'm going to get back to that.
You're on the 2 side. Yeah, sure. There you go. Well, obviously, very happy for Van Veen. Obviously, making top 4 automatically gets in. Josh Rock, there was question marks running him on the more back end of the year. Had a pretty good World Championship campaign, which I reckon cemented that spot. But the main, Clayton as well, very well deserved. That's no problem for me at all. But the main one, which I know that you're going to talk about as well, and circulating around the media and the fans, is the man of Stephen Bunting. Obviously, we can both agree that he had a shocking first edition of his Premier League, but
second edition, he was in it in 2015.
Sorry. I mean, as in his first time for a long time. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
But obviously he had a shocker. There's no doubt about that. But I think it's actually a good thing that he's back. I actually do genuinely believe, because it gives him another shot at it, and I think he'll do a lot better personally. So I don't really have any problems with him being in. Obviously, you had contenders of Aspinall, Cross potentially, but the other main one's Noppert, which I don't subscribe to that notion of Noppert being in there at all. I don't agree at all. You said off fair
I'm so happy we're actually in agreement on this. I was worried I was going to punch you through my screen here if you said Danny Noppert should be in the Premier League. This Premier League is already too problematic with the format it is. I think I'm not a big fan of the single elimination knockout over the 16 weeks. You want Danny Noppert in it? You don't want people to fall asleep on the darts. And what did I say, Josh? What did I say all those episodes ago? They wouldn't make 4 changes. If Danny Noppert had to come in, they would have made 4 changes, and 3 of them would have been debutants. They were never going to do that. So all these people getting upset, clearly, A, they don't listen to the 9 Dart podcast, and B, they, as part of that, they didn't understand what usually happens. You got to look back over the history gone by. I think the only person who you could argue was a bit hard done by was Nathan Aspinall, given he had a better 2025 than he did 2024. Unfortunately, these things are sort of relative, and you have to compare it to other guys. I think him losing first round of the World Match Play didn't help, because it mean he fell too far down the rankings to be really considered. How do you put the one over? Where is he now? Is he 14, or is that Price?
For
Aspinall.
Yeah, give me 1 second whilst you keep going.
Just double check that for me.
Aspinall is 14. Yeah, he's gone up 1 place.
14. So you're going to have the one number 14, but not the world number 7. And Bunting was in there all the way through. Matthew Edgar said on his podcast, and Phil Bars confirmed it on his, that Bunting was the last guy to get in, and they were toying between him and somebody else. Now, they haven't said which somebody else that is, but they've ruled out Aspinall, and they also said it wasn't the guy other people thought, which tends to think it wasn't Noppert. I don't know, maybe Ryan Searle was a bit closer than we thought off the back of the Maybe.
Interesting. Or I know this is maybe a bit of a rogue outsider, but James Wade, obviously, he won James the UK Wade Open.
As well. He made genuinely
first half of the year.
As someone who's also actually, that's a great call. I think it might have actually.
He was a bit disappointed, actually.
I think it might genuinely have been James Wade. It might have been the other call up. He's another one that maybe, but I think Aspinall had more of a chance. I'm happy, by the way, that we'll see some different guys at the World Series, and I think we will see that this year with Littler and Humphreys. I don't think are coming to Australia. Littler definitely isn't. So we might see some different guys. Excuse me, along the way. But I'm very happy. I like pretty happy. I like watching these 8 players on screen. You know, I used to be
Mm.
not a particular fan of Price, but I think in the last year he's really turned things around, and his
Gone you
social
a little
media
bit.
isn't anywhere near as whingy as it used to be.
It
So
used to be horrible. Every
that's
week was
positive.
just something
So
going on. Yeah.
it's going to be
Yeah.
fascinating, and I think we've got 8 quality players, and it's hard to see. Like, it'll be a real shame someone's going to finish last in this 8, and it's going to feel harsh because they're all really, really good.
They're all
And
quality players, and they're
I
in here for a
don't
reason.
think Bunting will finish last, because usually the guy who gets the most flack for being in it usually makes finals night. Now, I'm not saying Bunting definitely will, but that could be it's going to be fascinating. We'll do full Premier League predictions once we get there.
Oh,
We'll
for
make it
sure.
through the
Yeah.
World Series and even the World Masters before we lock in. But good to see we're in agreement with the 8. Now,
Yeah.
if you had done, I think I would have picked this 4 wild cards. Would you have done the same, or would you? If it was
Yeah.
just up to you, and it was 4 wild
It's
cards.
just up to me. Yeah. Well, literally the only question mark I have was Bunting. Yeah, I think Aspinall was a bit dirty. I would have absolutely loved to see Anderson in, but obviously we know that he
Yes.
rejected a potential invitation 3 times, and he told PDC, he told Matt Porter, told
invite
everyone.
him, but he wouldn't have played. The interesting
Yeah,
thing, though,
I'd love
and
to see him play.
Phil Bars again confirmed this on his podcast. He didn't get invited for Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, but if they invited him, he would have gone. So I'm surprised they didn't. They
Really?
picked Noppert over Anderson, which feels like a bit of a maybe they wanted to be maybe would knock him on the head and say, well, you better. The other interesting thing was, if the Premier League was like an every second night thing, if Anderson only had to play every second night, then I think he would have been happy to play in the Premier League one more time.
True.
But
Well, a question that randomly popped up. If Anderson wanted to go to the Premier League and he got an invitation, do you think the PDC would have picked Anderson over Bunting? That's my question. That just randomly popped up in my head. If he was willing and he wanted to.
if Anderson was willing, would he have been picked over Bunting?
Yes.
Yes. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that Bunting would have been higher up on other ones, because now we're talking about a very different universe if Gary Anderson's happy to play in the Premier League.
We are.
So, yeah,
Anderson's
probably. I'd say
sixth on the
probably.
order of
He's
merit
higher up
now.
in the world.
Come
He
date.
had a better world championship. He arguably had a better year. Certainly better major season. So maybe.
Yeah, well, as I say, Anderson's now jumped to the 6th on order of merit plus 8, whilst Bunting's just behind. So, I mean, if you go by order of merit, there's literally no difference there. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say that I do think, and I think I've said this in a few places, that the challenges format from 2019 and 2020 should be reintroduced. And Gary Anderson would be perfect
That'd be
for that.
great. Absolutely.
Then it would be just the one night, and if he got it in Scotland with the crowd behind him, I think he would love that.
He would.
And then he could match up with like an MVG or a Littler for a real, for a real great tussle, and relive some of the great matches that he's played against some great players. I also think Bo Grease would be perfect for a one-off challenger night.
She would be incredible for that. No doubt.
So that would be something great. So that's one thing I want to debate right now, Josh. The big moment has arrived.
Yes.
The only thing I cared about with this World Championship Fantasy, which I want to make clear, I had no idea how the rules work. I completely missed the first transition window because I didn't understand how that happened, or if he was okay with me doing this sort of thing. Anyway, the only thing I care about, Josh, I have written my number on my whiteboard here next to me where I finished, and more importantly, how many points I got.
Yes.
You go first. Why not?
So you've got points and your actual number in the end?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
If you just have one or the other, that's fine.
All right. I'll go by points and then ranking. All right. I ended up with 566 points and 19,974 on the ranking, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Now, this is interesting. I've got to try and do this next bit without being smug.
Okay. Here we go.
I finished with 866.5 points and finished 695.
Very impressive.
So I finished in the world's top 700 with all my changes. Luke Littler being a captain helped. I want to shout out anyone who put Justin Hood in there as their debutant.
If you put that,
Charlie Batby, that was the play of the century to put.
That was the pick of the.
Anyone who put Harrison in as well did well, I think. So shout out. Andres Harrison didn't have the feel as a debutant, but it was technically his debut as well. So
true.
Yeah, but 866.5 points.
Well done. Smash me.
Over the line there in that head-to-head. I enjoy that.
Yeah, that was good fun.
I'll try and do that. Hopefully I do it for the World Masters and for other events, because I'll give that a go. And this time I'll know how the transition periods work, so I'll be able to.
Yeah.
I'm striving for the top 500.
Oh, well done. Good effort. Very, very good.
Right, the JDC World
Congrats.
Final also happened on the Ali Pali stage during the World Championship, and
Yes, it
Mitch
is.
Laurie won it. So he's won a
No
WTA, he's
surprise.
won a JDC. He just needs to get into the PDC system and win the World Youth Championship there, and he'll have the triple crown. He'll have that set of three
Triple crown.
trophies. He's clearly like the best player in his age bracket at the moment, Josh. I think
Oh, no doubt.
that's fairly easy to
Undoubtedly.
see.
Yep. Absolutely. There's no doubt about that in my mind. He's just going to be one of those guys who's going to, you feel like he's going to keep winning everything until he gets to the PDC stage. I can't wait to see him there. Obviously, he'll have another year at Lakeside, and
In all likelihood.
well, yeah, that's sorry, good point.
There is technically there are feasible options if he goes to like the UK and Ireland qualifier, only if that's held after his 16th birthday. I expect he'll go back to the WDF, but
WDF. Well,
it's not official yet.
We both agree that's probably a good idea for him to go.
I think it would generally be good. Right?
Yeah, and then to go to PDC the following year. But we'll eagerly watch that, I'm sure. But yeah, very, very good. Obviously, he's just going to keep winning everything, the Scotsman, and he was fantastic on the day.
Absolutely, and we'll continue to follow the JDC. They do great stuff, so I'm interested to see if anyone else can emerge on the JDC side of things. In the same way, Mitch Laurie, this was really the year of Mitch Laurie on the real junior side of darts. So we'll see if anyone else can take him on. Right, Q School. This is always a fascinating event, and I've got like tons of ideas on how you make Q School better, by the way, Josh. But here's what happened. These guys on your screen were winners. Big takeaways. Obviously, we'll get to Adam Link in a second as the Aussie. But Reese Greven getting a card. Tom Sykes, Shay McGurk, Charlie Manby getting over the line. Christo Reyes is well and truly back, as is Jeffrey Zvan. Jimmy Van Ski has done it, so they get the WDF World Champion. The two most recent WDF World Champions have got over the line. Merv King is back on the tour, which
just got in.
Fun. Adam Gavlas, so if you're not a Mensur Suljvoic, if you're with Joe Cullen and not me, you're not going to like Adam Gavlas being on the tour because he's another slow one. Jurgen Barneveld and his Wasp Spray is on the tour as well.
That was hilarious.
So there's some of the big names there.
Yeah.
Some big names have missed out. Steve Beaton went, he couldn't get there. Mason Whitlock won like a few games on like the days, but never really went on.
Wasn't good enough.
One.
Yeah.
Derek Coulson missed out on the legs one, the second tiebreaker after leg difference. So frustrating because I think Derek Coulson is someone who's very capable of playing. I was genuinely expecting DC to win a card here. But the most painful one for me was Andreas Harrison. It's extraordinary. He just can't get it done at Q School. I can't believe it. There is not 128 better dart players in the world, Josh, than Andreas Harrison right now. He's easily like maybe the best 100 in the world.
Yeah,
and he's not short. He was one place outside.
Just so this point. Well, if you look in that 8 who do have it, you have to say he's better than at least half of those guys.
Possibly, arguably.
If you put him head to head, he wins most of those. You'd think. Yeah, my most disappointing one is Derek Coulson for sure. But do you notice a trend here? How good is the Motor Super Series and ADC?
Yes, I was going to say that. Yeah.
It's been a fantastic pathway to seeing these guys get cards. Look, you see, King obviously was there. I think Burton was there as well. Jimmy Van Ski, Landman, Barneveld, Gallas. There's just a few guys there I can just tell who have gone through that pathway and have obviously reaped the rewards of it very, very well.
I do think we need to make some changes to Q School to make it better, and I have a few ideas. As of right now, and there are matches happening right now as we record this, Josh, out at Melbourne Park, the Australian Open qualifier is on for the Tennis Grand Slam. By the way, I don't know if you saw the 1 point slam last night they held. They had a bunch of amateurs playing professionals in 1 point matches. That was awesome. And I think darts could really do something like that sort of fun sort of exhibition thing. And I know some sort of do that, but I just want to throw that out there. I might talk about that next week. I watched a bit of the 1 point slam last night at Melbourne Park and thought that was awesome. I was going to bring up with the qualifier, they have seeds for the qualifiers. So you have a 1C, you have a bunch of, you have like, I think 32 seeds for the Australian Open qualifiers. So like that number could be wrong. So I don't understand. And it could so easily be done with Q School. You just take like the best guys off So whoever was like the highest ranked guy who lost their card based on the 2-year order of merit from the end of the worlds, he should be the number 1 seed. And obviously they'd be split across the EU and the UK. And then you could look on the challenge tour to fill out. All you need is like 32. I'm really talking about like the second stage, because there's so many. It's just too much of a lottery to where you get some guys coming through. I also wasn't a fan of 2 cards being handed out per day. It used to be just the one. I thought that was a little bit better. I also feel like that there's a great argument here for just not doing the automatic card things and just say if you win a day, great, you get this many points, and then just doing it off like a points thing at the end. I think you could get a more consistent batch of top players coming through that way. I also think that I don't think it's right that the EU got more tour cards just because they had more entries. That was just for the first stage. And the second stage is 128 players every day, so it actually doesn't matter. But
True.
And the depth in the UK was better than the EU all week. So that's something that I definitely I understand it's a bit different this year when you have the odd number. So maybe you have to have a slight advantage there. But I still think that thing should be as close to even as possibly can. It should have been more of a 7-6 split instead of 8-5 in favor of Europe. And as with I was going to mention one more thing, I think, and now I can't remember it. I have so many opinions of the last week. I was following very closely. But yeah, I think there are better ways to do this. Oh, that was it. The Challenge Tour needs more places. It needs more It needs another place for the World Championship, and it needs a couple of other tour card places. This is the main secondary tour anywhere in the world. This is for the best non-tour card holders. So it should really be more than just the top 2 getting in. And there should be other spots, a couple more spots available, I think, for tour cards, and even for the Dev Tour, or maybe one to the Women's Series. I'd also love to see like the CDC. If you win that tour, you get a tour card automatically. If you win the ANZ Premier League, if you win the Asian Tour, if you win the Nordic and Baltic Tour, which would have put Harrison in and he wouldn't have had to go to school. So I think a lot for those really top affiliate tours, I think, and with the money that's being invested in the affiliate tours at the moment, as was announced during the sort of Christmas break during the Worlds, I think that's definitely something that we see could happen, and I think would be a real benefit as well. And that would get Harrison on the tour. That would have got Alexis Toilo on the tour again. One for the same players. Adam Savada would have got 3. He played all right at Q School, but he wasn't.
Peter Wachuri on the tour.
At the top end of the town. Maybe we'll give one to the African qualifier. Who knows?
That'd be cool.
I'd just start with those 4. Canada in the US, the Nordic and Baltic area, Asia and Australia, New Zealand, and then maybe work out from there. But yeah, but look, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not going to blame any. Like, these players are the deserving winners. They played by the rules, and
absolutely, they played by the rules, and they got it done.
You get through, and that's how it works. But I think a great story, one of the great sporting stories of the year already, is Adam Lake. Let's talk about him, Josh.
Let's do it.
The Aussie, the Lake shirt. He's gonna join. He's gonna be. Let me name the players. Simon Whitlock, Paul Nicholson, the Lake Carl Anderson, Damon Heta, Adam Lake. He's going to be the 5th Aussie to represent his country at the World Cup of Darts, because they're the 2 tour card holders, and the rules are pretty clear. I had to send that through you because you're like, "Are you sure?" Lorenzo? It's like, "Yes, I've read the rule. That it's 2 tour card holders get through automatically for the World Cup of Darts. So a new pair, Simon Whitlock, will miss out for the first time in history.
That's exciting.
Will, not be there, but we will have a new face and a new guy to follow throughout 2026. Josh, Adam Lake is on the tour, and I don't know what his former job was. It doesn't say, but all the reporting is he quit his job at the end of last month, the South Aussie, so that he could go
Adelaide,
Championship. He actually really wasn't expecting to get a card this year. He was thinking maybe next year. He was saying to Dan Dawson, like, he won it on the first day of the final stage, like he's not even sure where he's going to live on that sort of thing. So he's got plenty to sort out.
Listen to those interviews
before the Pro Tour starts, but it's just a great story that Adam Lake's been able to fulfill his dream. And again, it's that Motor Super Series ADC side of things, which has given us this tour card holder.
Absolutely. Yeah, spot on. Well, he's got some time with Damon Heta to get the chemistry together before the World Cup in Frankfurt again this year. But it's an incredible story. We love seeing as many Aussies as we can. And the exposure of the ANZ Premier League has also done wonders as well, I think, just seeing these guys. But yeah, as you just mentioned, I mentioned earlier, the Modus ADC pathway has done absolute wonders for guys. I forgot to mention some guys as well, but him, Carl Sneady's been in there a lot. Tom Sykes, you said, McGurk, Hamby.
Really happy to see Tom Sykes get a card. I think he should be.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's one of my favourites I got. But Aussie point of view, that's why we're here. Yeah, Leg's a fantastic story, and he is well deserving of that card. And as you said, he didn't really think he'd get it and potentially have a crack at it next year, but he was good enough on the day, and he's very well deserved. We can't wait to see him play. That's for sure, no doubt.
Yes, can't wait to see him. I'm very disappointed that Mason Whitlock didn't get a card because it could have been this fascinating thing
Yes.
where we had this race for second place in the first half of the
Yeah,
year.
you did say that to me off
I
there.
would have
That'd
said
be really
every
cool.
week, if you want to know who gets that second, I was planning to do a whole graphic and a whole montage for the race for Dortmund, the second spot at the World Cup of Darts to join Damon Hitter. It's Leek versus Whitlock, and like it didn't happen, because Mason Whitlock didn't get a card. And Lake's he's gonna be the fifth Aussie to represent his country at that fantastic pairs event in the PDC in Frankfurt,
Germany.
in June, I think it is. So looking forward to that. Yeah, well done, Adam Lake. We've got two Aussies back on. We've got two Aussies on the tour again, and yeah, he's got 2 years to get himself in the world's top 64, so he can extend it further on. And I just can't wait. I just hope we see him a few times on TV just for that shirt.
Yeah.
That's going to be so good.
That's such a good shirt. It's incredible. It looks so
We should
good.
see him. I'd imagine he would be on the He will play in Australia, New Zealand when we get to the World Series events as well.
Yeah, you'd hope so because
he's the
we've
top holder.
obviously got the PDC ones and then our local ones. So yeah, you'd think he'd be there. Absolutely, yeah. Along with
probably on the local side of things. Damon would
what would you
be on
think?
the PDC Superstars side, but he'd probably be one of the local qualifiers. We saw it with Puha when he was the tour card holder, and Whitlock obviously. So it would be great to see Adam Lake out there in Wollongong and over in the ditch in New Zealand as well. And when we get there in August, that's quite a while away.
It is a while away.
You have speaking of ADC, you've got plenty of news on there. It's been a big few weeks for the ADC side of things, and Modus as well. Getting that facility in Portsmouth just gets used all the time.
Oh, it does. It's great. So many events and tournaments get held there. But the Windmill Championship 26 is an increased prize fund, £78,000 for the men's across the north and the south. The next graphic has the official breakdown. $34,000 each for the men's north and the men's south. So there are the two events and dates on screen. Got the breakdown of the winner, runner-up, all that as well per event. So there's a nice healthy prize fund there for both. And the top two in each table will qualify for the ADC Global Championships that start in November. And there's obviously the grand final as well, £10,000 boosted prize fund, 16 total players, and there's obviously more money across the board. The grand final is across the Saturday, the 3rd, and Sunday, the 4th of 2026 at the Modus Live Lounge. So that's a very, very good idea to increase the prize fund, obviously, and gives more players exposure and also chance to win some more extra cash. So what on ADC?
Yes, so much news on the affiliate tour side of things. They announced that big prize money bump during the Worlds, which was just fantastic. And Africa's going to get 2 spots at the World Championship. And these were the dates that some of the stuff might have actually, I put this in like as I found it, and like the end of December. So some of the stuff may have even been more up to date. But obviously with the African Continental Tour, they have a North Tour up in Kenya, Uganda, and Morocco, Tanzania. And is that Egypt's flag? I think Egypt's in the middle. South Africa,
I think so.
Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, and that was Malawi, I think, are the last one.
Got some good flag knowledge.
Yes, I do. I'm a bit of a flag expert. I love my vexillology. Anyway, these are the dates coming up on the screen for the video watchers for the African Continental Tour in the north and the south, and they'll obviously have I presume still a bit of a playoff at the end for the World Championship spots. Move forward. We got more stuff happening ahead for the UK Open amateur qualifiers as well, so fascinating to see who makes their way to Minehead. And going to be interesting to see all these new tour card holders play for the first time at the World Masters qualifier and the UK Open. Fascinating to see how Adam Lake. Fascinating as well with Bo Greaves. We sort of forgot about her, but she's going to have a tour card for the first time this year, so that's
That's fantastic.
as well. Mr. Vegas are extending their deal with the PDC for the next couple of years. They sponsor the Nordic Dart Masters, the Grand Slam of Darts. But I wanted to get to these ones. So these were the couple of big ones. Yes. Australian Darts in 2026, Josh. And look at the dates. We're going to Perth, Canberra, Brisbane, Melbourne, Sydney, and Adelaide. for the ADA, up to 24 events this year. The DPA is dead as far as anyone is aware. I'm not sure if they're even still holding events. They're certainly not a PDC affiliate. Winner's going to go through to the World Championship, up to 7 places at the Australian Darts Masters. That might be a little bit less now that Adam Leake won a card. Certainly 1 place at the New Zealand Darts Masters, up to 6 places in the ANZ Premier League.
Confirmed to be back.
Gets a direct invite.
Yes, that's true.
And, you know, the Americans would do this immediately, but we in Australia aren't quite as good as sport administrating as some of the Americans. Get Simon Whitlock back in the ANZ Premier League, guarantee him as the defending champion.
Absolutely.
The up to 6 places tells me that might still technically happen. Top ranked player on the Order of Merit to enter Q School at the final stage, though I would just just give them a card, as I mentioned earlier. Yeah. Top 8 ADA players will go to the World Masters preliminary round. Not sure if that is already applying for this year's one. I imagine it probably would, but certainly for the years after it. And up to 3 places at the World Youth Championship as well. We're going to be covering all the ADA events here on Extra Time and the podcast, Josh. Fascinated to see how the tour unfolds in 2026 as players fight for a World Championship spot and an ANZ Premier League spot as well.
Well, I'm pretty sure there was only 3 ADA tours last year, wasn't there? There was
3. It was 3 blocks events of 4. So this year there's 6 blocks of 4,
which is great. So they've extended that by a lot, which is great for more opportunities and more money. 135,000 Australian dollars is the prize pool this year, which is incredible. So a huge up for ADA, and there's so many opportunities on that left-hand side of the screen, as you just mentioned. Now I won't go through it again, but so many opportunities for guys, especially the ANZ Premier League on TV as well, which I can't wait to go to again. So happy that's coming back.
Well, don't jinx it, Josh. They haven't confirmed any dates yet, but you would assume Melbourne.
Yes, sorry, but as in it's just there in general.
I told you in the last episode, Josh, don't go the early crow.
Sorry. Don't go the early crow. Sorry, you're right. I'll got some more news on the Darts Down Under a little bit later.
Yes, exactly.
There's some New Zealand stuff as well.
In the last episode, and look, this was probably like an obvious thing that was always going to happen, but I did say I kind of wanted a Oceanic tournament to replace that DPA spot. Well, that is going to happen. Like I haven't seen any other updates, and ironically, I'm going to check for updates as soon as we're finished, and I'm going to find them probably. But as of right now, I haven't seen anything of updates for something probably akin to the old Oceanic Masters, most recently won by Gordon Mathers.
Yes, yeah.
Fascinated to see how that comes about. That's still to be worked out. We don't have any dates or locations. Please hold that in Melbourne. We want to be involved. I could...
Please, PDC.
I would love that. But we'll see what happens out of that event. It'd be great. That'll be an extra spot at the World Championship. I think that might even be open to more than just Australia and New Zealand. If there are any players in the sort of a more oceanic region, could also, in theory, get involved there. But it's going to be a huge year. And, well, this was already confirmed, back in September. I just didn't see it. The New Zealand also have their dates up and running. So both tours end towards sort of early to mid-September. And again, Josh, with the Grand Slam of Darts set to expand, interesting to see if any of these tours or even the ANZ Premier League itself might offer a spot at Wolverhampton. I'm fascinated to see for this coming year what the Grand Slam of Darts spot are like. Tristan Bogner is a player that we're certainly looking out for on the as a future Australian star, I guess. And
absolutely,
the Australian Boys Singles Championship, Josh.
Yeah, he sure did. There's all the results on the next slide. So ultimately, his averages, well, in the final, at the final knockout stage, was around sort of 75 mark or 3. In the round robin, again, he had one stinker, the 55, but he still won it. But yeah, it's sort of around that 70 mark, which is pretty good standard for.
It's a pretty good standard.
Boys. Yeah, absolutely.
So in his darting life, I would imagine.
Yeah, exactly. So also go by the final knockout stage, won 2-1 against Bronson Felters, 78 average, 3-1 against Jacob Powell, who's a notable name that we have heard of a few times. On that 3-1, and then 4-3 in the final against Claude Miller with a 79.61 average. So he had a great.
Saved his best average to last there, Josh.
Absolutely, he did. Sure did. All right, that's very impressive numbers.
Absolutely.
I'll say, whilst his opponent was averaging 83 himself, so that's a fucking game. Good
We
seeing that win
saw
there.
a deal with Luke Littler expanding his deal with Target Darts. He's just worth more and more money these days. And we also had, if we go over to the next slide, a Chris Dobie signing with Motorsports as well. They've got quite a few players in their management sphere. Sphere, excuse me. Yeah, so plenty of players making sure they're signed and ready to go for the new year with their with the players there with. Jack Tweddle won the ADC Global Championship.
He
Josh?
sure is. Yes, he is the winner, £60,000 to his name in what was a very good game against Johnny Hayes. Johnny Hayes actually won 5 legs in a row to be up 5-2 in the early part of the game before the break, and then Tweddle was just too good in the end, won 7 legs to 2 in that back end stage. He was very, very good. 9-7 victory there, 85 average, 2 180s, and not too bad on the checkouts. Highest checkout of 70, but he was too good in the end. So well done to him. That's very, very good. Obviously, he gets a juicy amount of prize money, but also a great trophy there as well. More motors for you. We had the special double trouble week. Steve West was the winner. Obviously, the average is going to be a little bit lower because you got to start and finish on a double. So 79 average there. And yeah,
probably
he's
closer to about 89 average. There's usually like a 10-point difference with the double start, I think, is the usual rule of thumb, maybe a little bit less the further down you go.
It's a fair assumption. And then we had an Aussie, Simon Whitlock, the special senior showdown week. He won it against Steve West again, who obviously featured in the double trouble week and won it. I'll look at these numbers for a second. A 95 average, 2 180s, high checkout of 80, and not too bad on the double. So I chucked the wizard hat on there for a little bit of fun because he is the wizard. 4-0 victory in the end. So he was good on the week. I actually watched a little bit of it here and there when I got in the midst of work.
I watched mostly the last day where he was quite good, Simon Whitlock, all the way through, and you felt like it was inevitable that he was going to get the job done. Well done, Simon. Still picking up titles anywhere he goes, and
exactly right.
Involved with darts. Mason Whitlock, as mentioned earlier, couldn't pick up his card, unfortunately, but good to see the Whitlock name still very much prominent in the world of darts. Josh is going to have a crack at this again. He's stuck in Division 2.
Stuck in Division 2 again.
He was in the promotion places for a while. You're going to have another crack at the Darts Down Under League, Josh. Why not? Yeah,
I will. Of course, why not? So thanks to JP again for the invite again. He does a fantastic job every week. And the third season of this fantastic tournament, which has been very, very good to begin. So I will verse Scott Hay this week, a name who I versed in the previous season. So I think it's actually, play. It's actually an expanded field, actually, which is pretty cool. So a few more names, which is great. So I will do a weekly update as I have done in the past. Sure.
Absolutely. Every time you say verse, like you need to write like a song.
I know. I'm sorry.
Give me your best poetry, Josh.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, sir. T.S. Eliot style writing there. Right, the week ahead, and what a week ahead.
The
PDC are sport washing in the Middle East, but at least Paul Lim is there, so maybe we can give away that. Paul Lim is back. PDC representatives, we have Littler, Humphreys, Van Veen, Van Gogh, and Bunting, Noppert, Price, and Aspinall. So Danny Noppert does get a chance on the World Series.
He does.
He preferred Gary Anderson, but anyway.
Me too.
And we've got plenty. We've got a couple of Bahrains. No Saudis are on the Saudi Arabia Darts Master side of things, so that they can't even pull together a couple of guys averaging like 60, which is what Bahrain does.
Who was that left-handed guy or right-handed guy who played what was his face? Who had like an absolute stinker and won one leg against
okay, so there's a couple of classics. You might imagine a few people. Abdul Nasser Youssef is the only Bahrainian to win.
Not him.
It was against Michael Smith.
Michael Smith, yes, I remember that.
Played against Mike Van Gogh, and he was, I think, right-handed, and he had like the weird. He threw. It was like
this one
directly straight, and did did that weird funny action.
Yeah, that's the one I was referring to.
That was a very weird game.
That was hilarious.
Abdullah Saeed and Basim Mahmoud are the Bahrainian players this year. I'm very surprised, Josh, knowing what we know about Saudi Arabia, I just expected them to do something ridiculous, and we haven't heard anything ridiculous yet. Like, I just imagined like there was going to be like a golden bull inside the bull, or if you do this, if you hit these segments, you're going to win like £100,000 or something. You know, 'cause
That'd be nice.
it's Saudi Arabia. They love gold and they love throwing out money. So I expected something. It wasn't just going to be like a standard World Series darts tournament, which is like the worst format of darts tournament we have. Like, give me something a little bit extra.
True.
But
That's fair.
no, we haven't heard anything yet. I was expecting like maybe 1,001 instead of 501 tournament, something
That'd be cool.
crazy. They haven't done that yet. Maybe it's a bit too early.
Or a rumble.
Maybe they know that the drinking pub beer culture in darts in Saudi Arabia really isn't going to work.
Doesn't exist.
I don't know. That's coming up in the next few weeks. The 15th to the 16th is Bahrain. The 19th to the 20th is Saudi Arabia. The one thing it does give us, as much as they're trying to forget us, ignore all the human rights things, is the fact that we will get a battle for the ages when Luke Littler plays Paul Lim. These are the Bahrain Darts Masters field. Stephen Bunting is the defending champion, having beaten Gohan Price last year. He'll play as a motto in the first round. Humphreys plays Saeed for like the third year in a row. Danny Noppert gets the other Bahraini player Mahmoud, and there is our battle for the ages with Luke Littler playing Paul Lim. 18 versus 71. Littler will be 19 in like a week, and Lim will be 72 in about a week and a half, I think. So
youngest versus oldest?
Well, it's kind of
current.
It kind of has to be. Is anybody on the is Charlie Mamby younger than Luke Littler? I don't think so.
No, I think he's 20 or something. Yeah. 21.
So at any rate, these two, it's going to be so much fun watching these two. You'd expect Littler to win hands down, but you never know. Paul Lim could just pull out a miraculous
snag a leg
somewhere and at least give us a competitive match. I'll just go back one slide, Josh. Is there any? It's a strong Asian field, you must say. Is there anyone there?
He is actually.
Maybe I reckon Alexis Toilo could throw off Michael Van Gogh a little bit if he's not sharp. Lawrence Alagan usually causes some issues before Nathan Aspinall. Manlock Lung is a very quality player, as we know.
He is quality.
So I wouldn't be surprised. We got maybe, I hope for a couple of surprises.
Upsets.
Not for Bunting, obviously, but for anybody else.
No, I don't really have anyone else besides the names you mentioned. Yeah, there's usually one upset in the first round.
That's a lot how these World Series events go. There's usually like maybe one.
Yeah.
Maybe
We'll see how we go. But I'll be interested to see how that pans out for sure.
Last week, and I actually didn't answer this, John Part and James Wayne, I said watch the 2012 World Match Play quarterfinal. It was a thrilling match. John Part played so bravely, but James Wade just did enough to get over the line, and a last leg decide, if I'm remembering that match correctly. But this week, Josh, we are going. Oh, of course.
Yes, of course. Well,
this is Luke Littler when he's like world number 31. He's playing Mike Van Gogh in the Bahrain Darts Masters final. This is a famous
2024. Match. Yeah, well, it's very hard to find games on YouTube sometimes. I managed to dig a little bit and found this. Yes, Littler MBG when he was a very young Littler, as you will see. And
he still is a young Littler, Josh. He hasn't even.
It's like when he was 16. Like
drinking age in the US sort of thing.
Well, this is his first year on the tour, for crying out loud. Anyway, back and forth game, the onset and hits 5-5 by the 10th leg, but then it's just one man who storms away at the end. Give that a watch about 20 minutes and you'll find it next week.
Best of 15 legs, that one. All right, Josh, that was a massive edition of the Nine Dart Podcast. We had the World Championship just gave us so many things to rant about and discuss and debate. I've had a fantastic last, however long we've been doing this. It's coming up nearly an hour and a half now, I think. Or to be fair, we did sit here and blab a little bit before we started.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening. If you want to, if it's easier for you, head over to your podcast provider of choice and listen to this. This will be available in an audio-only format. I'm going to try, usually I'm going to say like in the next morning, but I'm starting to think now if we do these things on Thursdays with like a Premier League on like a Friday night, we really should get this stuff done and up on before like the Bahrain Darts Masters start. I'll see how I'm able to do with that one. I might do an Instagram story to let everybody know that that's gone up there. Any last thoughts, Josh, as we say goodbye to the World Championship for another year and look forward to another big
It's sad. We have to wait till December again for the next Worlds. Come on, it's going to be such a lonely year. No, but we got so much to look forward to, obviously. Saudi Arabia and Bahrain. So we're back on the tour already. Let's do it. So, very, very cool. Obviously, had the Premier League and there's so much news coming your way. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and we'll be back next week. That was a huge episode.
That was a huge episode. Next week, Josh, I think we should start looking ahead at the year ahead and what we're expecting. Maybe we should look back on some of our predictions from the start of the year of players we thought might do well, might not do well, that sort of thing.
Good point.
We might do that sort of thing next week. We'll have all the roundup from the Middle East events, both Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. And we'll look ahead to, and I'm sure we'll get some news. There's been a few times through this podcast like, well, I haven't seen anything about this, and I'm sure in the next day or two we'll get full information there. All right, Josh, that's it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Good to be with you.
Yes, thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in to this mammoth edition of our show, and we'll come back next week for another big edition. This has been the 9 Darts